Good afternoon, everyone. It's exactly 4 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all of you to our State of University Hospitals Research Address for 2026. I'm Dr. Dan Simon, the President of Academic and External Affairs and the Chief Scientific Officer for University Hospitals. And most importantly, as I always say, the Ernie and Patty Novak Distinguished Chair in Healthcare Leadership. It's really an honor and a privilege to welcome all of you here today. And we are here to celebrate all of you. And you know now in our recurrent theme, we are going to show a lot of pictures. And it's really to celebrate everyone here today. And I suppose that we should start out with the declarative statement up front that the state of research at university hospitals is very strong. We had our best year ever in 2025 that you'll see momentarily. But let's talk a little bit about why we're here. We did a strategic plan back in about 2018 with Mukesh Jain when he was running research. And we advanced this notion that we are a next generation academic health system dedicated to accelerating discovery, innovation, and translation of scientific breakthroughs which address unmet clinical needs and enhance the lives of our patients, our community, and the world. So we're going to focus on that today and really for the impact of those discoveries. I think it is important for us to understand how research really is different in academic health systems than it is for discovery's sake in universities. We are about delivering hope for patients with no options. We're trying to bring the next drug, device, and cell-based therapy to people who are looking for an option of cure. We improve healthcare outcomes. We attract top-tier medical talent. We enhance health system differentiation. That attracts patients seeking advanced care. It drives transformative philanthropic giving. We produce intellectual property, and we create broad biomedical system impact. It is very important in 2026 to constantly remind our politicians in Columbus and in Washington, D.C., that every dollar of extramural research funded generates $2.57 in economic activity for the region, and that's very important. Some key metrics for this year, I think bottom line and probably most surprising to everybody here is in this very, very challenging environment for research, we were able to grow 11%. That is truly extraordinary. And it is because of all of you. It is extraordinary because our team sat in conference rooms trying to predict how low we were going to go. And that's because, as you know, it's not just study sections, it's not just councils, it's notice of awards, and getting money here is very difficult. And so this is a real measure of resilience, and as you'll find out, funding diversity that we'll talk a little bit about in a moment. We continue to lead Ohio in active clinical research studies in clinicaltrials.gov at over 3,590. We had 150 invention disclosures, over 1,500 publications, and we train a lot of residents, fellows, and medical students in a lot of GME programs. So we are also training the next generation. Now, a little insights on this research portfolio. Most importantly, you can see that the growth all occurred in industry, pharma, biotech, state, foundation, and federal research encompassing PCORI, HRSA, ARC, and the CDC. Our funding from NIH, DOD, and NSF is flat. So for some institutions that have had 40% reductions in NIH funding this year, that's great, because I say when we see that we're flat, it means that we have lots of activity and lots of shots on goal. And we do expect these very low grant scores to translate into notice of awards later in the year. Because this 20% increase occurred in industry, pharma, biotech, and areas that pay 40% indirects. We were very fortunate to have a corresponding 12% in indirects to $15 million. And it's important to point out that we distribute those indirects 50% to the Clinical Research Center, 25% to UHR&E, and 25% back to the departments. So we're trying to give the oil and the fertilizer back to the departments to continue to invest in research. It supports the Clinical Research Center infrastructure. It supports health services research led by Sam Bora. It supports the UH academic mission with grant writers and biostatisticians. And very importantly, as we say, the central office, UHR&E, is the supporter of all K and K to R transition folks here. So we think that's very important because it is the future. We're here, of course, because of very important academic strategic partnerships. I think importantly, we're joined today by President John Langell, who's here in the audience. John, thanks for coming. Stan Gerson, unfortunately, had a retreat today for the school and education and a distinguished university physician celebration. He is watching us, however, on live stream, so thank you, Stan, for your support. Of course, our primary affiliate is Case Western, has absolutely wonderful activities. Our clinical and translational science collaborative led by Grace McComsey, the Case Comprehensive Cancer Center, our Advanced Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, and many others. And of course, we want to think about our global partnerships. Jonathan Stamler is here with the HDI team, and Matt Anderson is leading our Oxford Harrington Rare Disease Center. We still have affiliations with Technion in Israel and the National Taiwan University College of Medicine. So research is global, education is now global, and we're trying to play in that environment. Now let's talk a little bit about a unified engine for medical innovation. The CWR-UH Joint Strategic Leadership Committee, or called the JSLC, is something where Dean Gerson and I come together to try to recruit and retain the best and the brightest. We commit $4 million a year for these activities, and you can see here that from 2021 through commitments into 2030, we have funded about $22 million so far. This talent funnel has included 52 applications, 49 JSLC approvals, and as you can see here, 15 newly recruited faculty, 12 retained, and 3 new research programs. It doesn't add up to the total applications because this is a very competitive landscape, and we offer jobs to people. And of course, they have offers for multiple institutions. So it's very competitive, but we are doing very well in that recruitment front. A new part of the JSLC is our Collaborative Science Pilot Awards. These are in the clinical areas of imaging, dementia, autism spectrum, keratoconus, and cerebral malaria, as you see here. These are $250,000 investments to accelerate team science, address unmet clinical needs, and most importantly, to spur on additional grant funding in the future. And you can see the present holders listed here, which are from all the different departments. And it's important to point out, in order to apply, you have to have a CWRU and a UH investigator together, and that's hence the crimson and the blue colors that you see there. Our 2026 awardees will be announced very soon. A little bit about investment into our enterprise and how important research is for the biomedical ecosystem of creating jobs. Jobs Ohio and the Cleveland Innovation District invested $17.5 million into our UH research and innovation. Those dollars were distributed to both UH Ventures, to UH R&E in general, and to the Harrington Discovery Institute. Those were distributed over 3 years. Of course, the state has a very strong clawback mechanism if you don't meet certain milestones. And what I want to assure you by the green checks is that we're safe. We've exceeded our target in capital investment, which was predominantly the Wesley Center for Immunotherapy and the new wet labs on the 6th floor here. We have created more than 235 jobs in only a little over 5 years, 664 new research positions. We are responsible for board-directed research and drug development investment, which is $30 million. And then we have this interesting target of total of $233 million in increase in funding from a base of $160 million, which corresponds to a CAGR of 2.5%. We are already at $198 million, and we still have 4 years to go. So next year, this will be my fourth green check for you, I am pretty sure. And so Jory, who is nodding, don't worry, you will not have to claw this money back. I also want to point out the incredible educational opportunities that we have to invest in our faculty as a consequence of our affiliation with NeoMed and John's team. You see here everything from health coaching certificates to education certificates, research under Sam Bora as an introduction to research, innovation by Allison Hart in fire, and also both green and yellow belt certifications with David Von Hannel and others. Why is this important? I cannot tell you, not a day goes by when I walk in the hallways and people say to me, Dan, I can't believe that you're supporting my tuition 100% for all of these courses. UHR&E covers this tuition. We have 844 participating in the certificate program. 461 have completed certification, which is important. And we also have 9 now in graduate level programs, both masters and PhDs as part of residency programs. Again, all tuition supported by UHR&E. We're going to do our typical flywheel around the horn here of scientific discovery, basic, translational, clinical, and impacting the world. But before I go to basic science, I want to call out a few, as I say, transformative programs, some new and a repeat on some that I've mentioned in the past. I want to call out from some great work of Doug Ree and his team, Jonathan Lass, Beth Ann Bennett, and Shri Kurup, related to our eye image analysis in reading centers. Many of you do not know that UH is the center of clinical trials, both in the cornea and in the retina, through reading center activities, over $4 million in funding from corporate and federal studies, looking at next generation, even AI automation of this analysis. And this is now over 30 years in this space. Also, very importantly, NEI-funded diabetes endothelial keratoplasty studies related to corneal transplantation, $8.5 million from 2025 to 2030 as an extension, bringing over $17 million in this space. This is very important because it is a rich history that is continuing to advance forward. Want to call out something that's extremely important and very atypical and unusual in 2025, given the difficulties at NIH, and that is Sam Bora was invited, UH was invited to participate in the new electronic health record de-identified data for large population studies called data counts or D-counts. NIH is moving from institute-based databases to one singular database. And all de-identified electronic health records from these consortium systems that you see here are going to contribute to eventually what will be all institutions, hopefully, or the majority of institutions in the U.S. We were invited through Jill Barnholt Sloan, our former leader at Case Western and UH, to join this group, as you see here, that includes elite institutions like Baylor, MD Anderson, Ohio State, U of C, and others, to join this group. Why is this important? Because you can ask a question. It was very important very early on in this group to say there was a concern that GLP-1s and GIPs were associated with an increased risk of suicide. They went to this group and said, let's answer that question right away through your electronic health record, this group that's together. And of course, they discovered that it did not. The nice part about being in this group is that you get to propose questions and you get to answer questions. And if you answer questions, you're a co-author. And if you propose questions, you're the leading author. And so very nicely, and congratulations to Sam Rogers-Melnick and the great Connor Whole Health, Integrative Health and Research team, that one of the accepted use cases was actually in whole health across the entire country. So Sam, thank you for your hard work. Interestingly, this was funded by the NIH Foundation. So it got away from any cuts and is now going to be funded by NIH itself. So it is surviving and moving forward, and it is a lot of work, tremendous collaborations with our IT team here and Craig Schwabel, and we're very excited, and Sam will reach out to you and his team will reach out to you to ask questions of case studies that you would like to answer. Of course, I have to mention one of my favorite research teams, that led by Donna Plecha and her amazing team in the Department of Radiology and in the Radiology Research Center. $52.8 million in active grants since 2021, $13 million alone in new applications or grants pending by PIs in 2025. This is predominantly MRI fingerprinting that was developed by Mark Griswold in the CNS, but is now extended, as many of you know, and we've talked about, to pancreas, breast, prostate, and other cancers, both for assessing prognosis and following treatment responses. So really terrific work and very, very exciting. 92 publications by the group, 23 in top 10% journals, 31 new clinical research studies, and amazing partnerships. And you see all of these wonderful people here. So congratulations to radiology. I do want to call out, and this is extremely important, because we are all dependent on the young generation of starters. And I look out at Jonathan, and I remember when Jonathan Stamler and I were K-Grant awardees in the Lascalzo lab. We got our start from a K-Grant. It all starts from then. And I really want to congratulate James Ross, Jared Travers, Bianca Islam, and Melissa Lumish for their appointment as both CTSC K-12 scholars and Case Comprehensive Cancer Center K-12 scholars, a very rigorous application process. The new K-12 program is really K to K or K to R21, but it is tremendous support, and you can see here a whole list of other individuals who we are getting on this pathway to independent funding, either through our Health Services Research Center Pilot Awards or our Career Advancement Awards. This is core work by Sam Bora, of course, Marlene Miller, who's really the brainchild behind Health Services Research, and we'll talk about Marlene a little bit later in our talk today. But this is a wonderful group in health implementation science, health outcomes, and population health. We are so excited by our K-12 scholars, and we wish them the best in a long and productive career. Okay, let's get into some of the meat here. Truly an extraordinary year for Dr. Andrew Pieper and his team. Many of you, I think we lost count at over 500 media outlet pickups of Alzheimer's reversal for the first time in mouse models of Alzheimer's disease. These are these P7C3 compounds, which have been licensed to Glengarry Brain Health to potentially reverse Alzheimer's in humans. This all is based on energy, metabolism, and impaired NAD homeostasis in Alzheimer's. And this is very promising work that obviously many of you heard all in the last 2 weeks. The real, I would say, realistic assessment that plaque removal monoclonal antibody drugs are not leading to meaningful clinical outcomes. We need something more than the amyloid hypothesis. This is one. The second one, of course, is the amazing collaborative work between Andrew Pieper and Sandy Markowitz related to Sandy's seminal findings in 15-PGDH. This is an enzyme that Sandy found was critical in inflammation and ulcerative colitis, in bone marrow transplantation, and in other models of inflammation. But the signs of a great institution is researchers get together from multidisciplinary areas, they talk to each other, and they say, perhaps if we inhibit 15-PGDH, we might improve blood-brain barrier function and protect mice from Alzheimer's disease and traumatic brain injury. It is so nice that this group came together and was awarded not only with a publication in PNAS, but as I look at Andrew, the 2025 Cozzarelli Prize as the top paper in PNAS. So congratulations, Andrew. It's important to point out that Dr. Markowitz was, in fact, a Harrington Discovery Institute scholar. This drug was developed in conjunction with the HDI. It was licensed to Rodeo and to Amgen. And we will look it's be very interesting to see how this pans out. Many of you who have been following this enzyme are familiar with two very important publications from Stanford that this has an amazing effect in knee and hip arthritis as well. So stay tuned in this space. Want to call out Jonathan Stamler and his incredible work. Many of you know about phosphorylation by kinases and dephosphorylation by phosphatases. Well, Jonathan has worked out an extraordinary another post-translational modification system called nitrosylation and denitrosylation with nitrosylases and enzymes that remove NO groups. And his latest work in drugging or targeting SCORE2 shows that we can prevent weight gain, reduce LDL cholesterol, and prevent fatty liver disease. This is very important because as great as GLP-1 and GIPs are, they are associated with sarcopenia. That is muscle wasting, bone loss, and many other issues. And so we need other targets. And of course, this is absolutely on fire and was published in Science Signaling for that reason. I want to talk about some individuals who've gotten some very important, we say, new R01s in 2025. Chen Zhao for his work in targeting leukemia stem cells with a small molecule heat shock transcription factor degrader. Very important work in a very tough disease, and he was awarded $2.5 million over the next 5 years. Stephen Carpenter in infectious disease, great and novel work for next generation TB vaccines. Stephen was awarded $4 million for an R01 and also received a top publication from the Journal of Experimental Medicine for this work. So congratulations to Stephen. Peter McFarlane and Richard Martin, of course, all of you are familiar with Fanaroff and Martin, the textbook of NICUs. That is the Richard Martin that you see here. A new award to both of them, $2.9 million, to really tackle this paradox of NICU babies, and that is that CPAP itself independently contributes to poor long-term respiratory outcomes, especially childhood wheezing and airway hyperreactivity. This is a stretch issue, complicated matrix and channel changes leading to smooth muscle proliferation and wheezing, and they're trying to tackle this. And I think it's great. And again, want to emphasize that these are new R01s in 2025, a really tough year. Great work from Wendy O'Neill in ENT looking at HPV-positive oropharyngeal cancer with an R37, which is just an absolutely tremendous award. Congratulations, Wendy. And I think in some very exciting work for the doctors in the room with gray hair, which I am one, as you can see, we have struggled. There are two cancers we think of that in our careers, since I graduated medical school in 1987, that we've had very little progress in. One is pancreatic cancer, and the other is osteosarcoma, which unfortunately affects adolescents and young adults predominantly. But here is Rashmi Parmarasaran with incredibly exciting work, working, of course, with Alex Wong and John Laterrio and others, that CAR-T targeting this very important oncostatin M ligand may in fact be able to have cell-based therapies for osteosarcoma. Very promising work in mice, and I think that we want to get into human trials, but we've got to make sure that this OML ligand is actually specific and there's no cross with other ligands before we can get into humans. Now, what about teams? Research teams are very important. I want to call out the Blood, Heart, Lung, and Immunology Research Center. I was a member of the H part of this when it was the CVRI. This was the dream of our former great leader, Bob Salata. Bob came up to me and he said, Dan, we cannot continue to fund separate benign hematology, heart, lung, and immunology programs. We need to bring researchers together. And we didn't want to call it the Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute because we'd be copying somebody. So Ken Remy named it the BHLI. And what you can see here is incredible success with $21.1 million in grant funding, 192 peer-reviewed publications, established cumulative impact factor of over 1,700, and 73 principal investigators. We had an inaugural BHL Science Day in June at Squire Valley View Farm, and it was absolutely inspiring. And I think something that Ken's done that's been really fantastic is to deploy Pilot Center awards across this center. And this was unusual because Ken came to the Joint Strategic Leadership Committee for funding, and we said, of course, we don't fund centers and programs. Ken is very persistent, and he received funding for his center. Let us move right in now to translation. So we have to call out the Harrington Discovery Institute, of course, led by Jonathan Stamler, but very key leaders, Chief Scientific Officer Seth Field, Matt Anderson, co-director of the Rare Disease Center, Andrew Pieper, the head of Brain Health, and Atul Chopra, a ACE investigator in the HDI. 2025 scholars, 10 scholar innovators in the core program, 1 Harrington MSTP scholar, 4 brain health medicine scholars, and 10 Oxford Harrington rare disease scholars. We have now funded, since inception, 227 scholars or medicines in the making. 32 are in Cleveland. So over 10% are in Cleveland. We've supported 75 institutions. We've launched 46 companies, 8 here in Cleveland, 24 medicines in the clinic, and 15 licenses to pharma. I am very lucky because my company was founded and licensed in Paris, so I get to have an annual board meeting in Paris. So that's for me is great too. So incredible work by this team. Why was 2025 a special year? Well, Jonathan will tell you that the drug development business is very risky, and it fails way more often than it succeeds. You see here that of 227 medicines in the making, only 24 make it into the clinic in phase 1. So there's a 90% dropout right away. And then as you know, there is failure in phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. So here we go in 2025, the first positive phase 3 clinical trial for the HDI. Barry Collar is one of the most famous hematologists in the United States. He's at the Rockefeller. He discovered the medicine called ReoPro that we use to treat every single heart attack patient in the United States when I was an interventional cardiologist, both a fellow in the 90s and into the 2000s. It has been replaced by oral drugs, but Barry kept coming back and saying, we don't treat patients until they get to the hospital. And even then, the door to balloon time is 60 to 90 minutes. They sit at home, either a double door going to another hospital, or they're in their living room and they're not being treated. He came up with the idea of a subcutaneous administered drug that would start preventing blood clots from forming or promoting their dissolution through our endogenous fibrinolytic mechanisms, and they would be given by first responders. And he did this clinical trial exactly of that in over 2,300 heart attack patients and was presented at the AHA as a positive trial. It is really incredible. And now Jonathan's team is working very closely with him to hopefully get this through the FDA. So stay tuned. Of course, there's a lot more. And we want to call out, of course, our radiology team, radically led by Leo Kayet Bittencourt, his amazing work in predominantly outside in, as we call it, innovation in the AI space, bringing algorithms developed worldwide to university hospitals, the most prominent being that with AI Doc, an Israeli radiology company. We have about 18 algorithms now in radiology that are built and implemented within our system every day that are on for things like pulmonary embolism and brain bleeds, and many others. We have 18, pneumothorax detection, fracture detection, and this is just incredible work. We are part of 2 very, very important consortia. One is the Mass General Consortia, and the other one is the American College of Radiology that allows us to get a seat at the table and participate. And I think in the most exciting developments, which are very interesting because they have both nonprofit and for-profit components, is our invitation to be in the foundation model team of AI Doc, which places us in an elite group of people who are donating millions and millions of images for these AI algorithm development in exchange for tokens of shares. So very important, stay tuned. It's definitely something that UH Ventures is into. How about work in this startup and validation phase? You see a lot of very interesting work here. UH Ventures, 115 disclosures, 23 licenses, royalty and equity payments. You see portfolio breakdown. And these are just the name of a few of the companies on our register right now that we're thinking about and hoping for. So stay tuned for that. We are all reminded, those of us who trained at Mass General Brigham, the royalty payments for Enbrel, for arthritis, to Mass General Brigham was over $100 million a year. It is transformative for an institution. And so we are waiting to hit that big one that will change the entire evergreen flywheel of our institution going forward. And we are going to get one. It's just going to be a matter of time. Well, what about clinical research? Of course, want to call out the amazing team that Dan Spratt, my Associate Chief Scientific Officer, but also the chair of RadOnc, has put together. And you see here incredibly high impact publications in JAMA Oncology, Nature. Very important national clinical trial leader presentations. Dr. Angela Jia, national PI of a PSMA trial. Dan as a PAM50 biomarker in recurrent prostate cancer. And Lauren Henke in adaptive radiotherapy for pancreatic cancer. Extremely exciting, high-profile publications on the podium at major meetings, and really critical industry partnerships with Varian and others, bringing us state-of-the-art technology that's only one in Ohio or only one in the US. So this is really terrific, and we're very proud of all of them. I think that Batul Hadapoglu and Zoe Stewart and Chris Sutter want me to call out that University Hospitals is the first site in Ohio to offer an FDA-approved cellular therapy for type 1 diabetes. This will be deceased donor islet cells that are administered directly into the hepatic portal vein to restore the body's ability to produce its own insulin. This is kind of incredible. And I think that it's really exciting. And we're very interested in enrolling our first patient. And I even called Batul yesterday. She said, not yet, but there are several in the queue. So we will have a big announcement, Mike Tobin, don't worry, when we enroll the first patient in that trial. Rebecca Flick is a real trailblazer. Many of you know Rebecca from her days at the Cleveland Clinic when she did the uterine transplant in order for a mother to deliver a baby from the uterine transplant. And she was one of the surgeons involved in that. Well, she's on the next phase, which is very interesting, of ovarian tissue allotransplantation to allow fertility for people who have ovarian failure. It's an amazing protocol. It is the first site in the world to offer this surgical solution under a clinical trial. And it's very important because, as many of you know, 1% to 2% of women under 40 have premature ovarian insufficiency. And so stay tuned. We obviously want to celebrate with Rebecca and Stephanie and her team when we have the first live pregnancy with this. But we're very excited, and we will follow along and report back to you. Great work by Melinda Sue related to pulmonary rehabilitation in advanced lung cancer survivors, again, with a new award from a congressionally directed medical research program. And then from other clinical research activities, great work by Jennifer Dorth and Quintin Pan in precision chemoradiation therapy in advanced stage anal cancer. Really great work and a great collaboration between both RadOnc and Simon Cancer. And then I think getting close to the end of our clinical research phase, never in my lifetime, ever, did I think that two things would happen. In my space, it was replacing the aortic valve in a live and talking patient, which we now do with TAVR all the time. But the second one was that we would cure sickle cell disease. And we've done that now. Jinglish Dalal has been part of Beam Therapeutics base editing program for sickle cell disease to increase fetal hemoglobin production. And this was reported in back-to-back pieces in the New England Journal of Medicine. And I'm very proud to say that I have a very nice conflict in this paper, and that is that if you look towards the bottom, my sister, who's the Chief Medical and Transformation Officer of Beam Therapeutics, was a co-author on this paper. So this is a family thing that I've been watching very closely, and so pleased that UH and Rainbow got to participate in this trial. Now, what about impacting the world? Well, let's start with our great Health Services Research Center led by Sam Bora. This started from a strategic plan, brought people together. We recruit an extraordinary leader. Marlene Miller recruited Sam Bora, and lo and behold, we now have a cumulative research portfolio of over $100 million in this space. These are large grants from PCORI, $6.9 million, comparing two treatments for stroke, thrombectomy versus standard of care in late presenters, comparing two surgeries for stress urinary incontinence at the time of vaginal prolapse repair, over $9 million. Charles Macias's extraordinary pediatric emergency network, over $50 million, and Elie Sade's vaccine and social determinants response to both influenza and no longer really the COVID infection, over $14 million. This is incredible, and we are so proud of them, and their impact is enormous. I also want to call out Sanjay Rajagopalan. Sanjay, as many of you know, is the expert of something called PM 2.5. So these are pollution and its effect on cardiovascular disease. And it is probably, after hypertension, the second most important modifiable factor for cardiovascular death globally. And Sanjay is the expert. He writes the reviews in New England Journal. He writes them in Braunwald's textbook. But he also was the senior author of 4 simultaneous publications looking at environmental stressors in cardiovascular health, both in the European Society of Cardiology, Circulation, Global Heart, and JACC. It is extraordinary to have Sanjay as the chief of cardiology and a leader here in this space, not just in the US, but worldwide. Want to call out Melinda Su and Peter Pronovost for their new PCORI award again this year. PCORI keeps funding, and that's great. And that's advancing cancer care by integrating an electronic patient-reported outcomes for improved patient care overall. This is really terrific, and PCORI, as you see, has been really a terrific funder for us. Chris Tao and his team have done an extraordinary job in UH Rises. This was the brainchild of Joe Sabick, our chair of surgery, who led this effort at the Cleveland Clinic before he came here to be our chair of surgery. And this is a group of medical students, research fellows, junior faculty that publish over 200 papers a year. There's a lot of publications with trainee co-authors. They make many, many abstract presentations, and they sweep all of the surgical competitions in the city, in the state, and even nationally. So really great work, and it's a great thing. If any of you have an interest in that surgical outcome space or any health outcome space, please talk to Chris. Finally, some really outstanding work. Karen Faryar is really the force behind rebuilding research within the emergency medicine area, going from, as you see, only $300,000 in funding in 2022 to $2.6 million in 2025. And really great work with both REDMAP platform as well as FASTER2. And we just want to keep pumping up emergency medicine. It's really great to have active research there as well. So where does this all lead? Well, promotion is important, and for those of you who've been keeping track of our new comp plan, there is actually benefits to promotion now in that our academic enterprise UHR&E is now, as many of you know, paying $50,000 on promotion to associate professor and $100,000 to professor going forward in your overall compensation. And so promotion is not only important career-wise and academically, but it also we value it, and we're here to support it going forward. And you can see here that these are the faculty promotions, in 2025. There were 36 promotions overall, and you see across all the departments. And this has been really very stable. We had a big bolus in 22 and 23 because there was this pandemic catch-up, so to speak. And you see the picture of these wonderful promoted faculty. And of course, we have to thank Marjorie Greenfield, who's our Chief Academic Career Development Officer, for really getting us on track, meeting with our assistant professors and getting them ready for promotion. Now it's time for special recognition. And I'd like to celebrate the career of two very important colleagues and dear friends. One is Fabio Caminelli, and the other is Henry Boom. Fabio Caminelli has had an 18-year tenure as division chief. As many of you know, he has announced that he will be stepping down. A national search is underway by EGO. He is going to remain, of course, here in the UH Digestive Health Institute as the founder of the Case Digestive Disease Research Institute. He has secured over $30 million in NIH funding. He's led foundational studies in cytokine research, and he's really a mentor of really scores and scores of scientists. He is a builder, he is a scientist, and he is a mentor, just as is Henry Boom. Many of you know Henry, our TB expert, 20 plus years directing the TBRU, division chief of ID since 2017. He has also announced that he is going to be stepping down, and EGO is also leading a search for infectious disease nationally. He has pioneered TB immunology. He's discovered a highly exposed TB resistors, and again, similar to Fabio, has trained a global generation of physician scientists, and he has led NIH T32 training grants and Fogarty Center grants since 2014. We want to express our deepest gratitude for their extraordinary, enduring contributions to clinical science, scientific discovery, and the next generation of medical innovations. Well, there are a lot of other awards, and we are going to wind up here very quickly for those of you who are looking at your watch. So we do have to point out that we were very fortunate to recruit Igo Ofotokun from Emory to be the next chair of medicine and physician-in-chief at UH and CWRU. He is also the Steris Chair of Excellence in Medicine and the Hord Chair. He was elected into the American Association for the Advancement of Science as a fellow this year. He is already in the National Academy. We want to congratulate Tony Winshaw-Boris, our former head of genetics, who was elected into the National Academy of Medicine, Sanjay Rajagopalan for his Distinguished Scientist Award, and Charles Macias for the John M. Eisenberg Award. Additional congratulations to Donna Plecha for the NCBC Breast Cancer Impact Award that she just received in Cleveland. Doug Ree, the James and Dolores Kleiman Chair in Ophthalmology. Finally, Doug, with this chair that we've been waiting for you for a long time to get, and also, again, an outstanding mentor yet again at Case Western. Sepide Amin Hanjani, an absolutely fantastic vascular neurosurgeon, was elected vice president of the American Association of Neurologic Surgeons, and she will become the president on track. Many of you think that neurosurgery is perhaps the most dominant male field in medicine, but in fact, at university hospitals, over 40% of our neurosurgeons are women. So we love neurosurgeons in neurosurgery, and in fact, our latest recruit to Rainbow from Stanford is a fetal neurosurgeon correcting meningomyocele, another woman neurosurgeon. So keep it up, Sepide and everyone else. And we want to congratulate Sarah Ronis on the 2026 Miller-Sarkin Mentoring Award from the American Pediatric Association. Congratulations, Sarah. Finally, Tyler Miller, the Sontag Foundation Distinguished Scientist Award. Tyler is a GBM researcher from Mass General and Dana-Farber. Mike Dell, Ross Myers, and Sam Bora, elected into the American Pediatric Society, and Salim Hayek, the NANS 2025 Distinguished Science Service Award winner. Well, we got to call out the team. So everybody who's on the UH R&E research team, please stand up. Thank you so much for all that you do. And I think the most important thing that I can say today is that our team is growing. I'm very, very pleased to report, although many of you have seen the announcement that came out at 2 o'clock from me and Marissa Kiefer, that Marlene Miller has been named the new Chief Scientific Officer for Rainbow Babies and Children's. Congratulations, Marlene. Marlene has led a transformation of research at Rainbow, increasing the portfolio of the department from under $16 million a year to over $73 million a year. And we need her energy and her enthusiasm for all of Rainbow. And we also want to learn more for our adult medicine side as well. So Marlene will be joining us, and Christy Ross will be the new interim chair of pediatrics before we do a national search. So welcome, Marlene, to this new role, and we will add your picture for next year's celebration. I also want to thank Jory Mintz and her team, our IR&D grant support team that secures vital resources for research. We need partners. As I say to people, the grant application is 8 to 12 pages for the science part, but the whole application is 100 pages. And who helps us with all that? Who finds the awards? Who helps us apply for the awards? Grant writers and everything to drive our physicians is this team. And we secured $38.7 million in 2025, which I have to say was more than we thought we would get given what was going on. And you can see here their contributions since 2021 are really extraordinary. And we're very excited for 2026, and we'll stay on this. So thank you, everyone in that team. Some research support highlights: the Simon Cancer CTU, of course, our clinical research center, the DOMS Clinical Research Unit, just incredible work here. Human subjects research is the riskiest thing that we do at university hospitals. We have to protect human subjects, and there are incredible regulatory hurdles and obstacles and funding issues, and this is an amazing team led by Beth Haggisfeld as the Vice President of Research and Dan Spratt as the Medical Director of the CRC, but we have a lot of areas. We have Harrington, we have pediatrics, we got cancer, we have DOMS, we have a lot of areas. And I want to call out our top 5 enrolling investigators. Actually, in Simon here, you see Pedro Barada, Ankit Mangala, Angela Gia, Ashvin Dalati, and Alberto Montero. So really great work. One of the things that Grace McComsey brought to us is if you can't get people to come here for research, let's bring research to them. And that's our mobile clinical research unit. You can see here that we've had over 1,200 patient encounters. We've done over 2,900 different procedures in blood drawing. And of course, this picture is a little bit old. Grace and I are in this unit during the middle of the pandemic. And don't worry, I do not know how to drive a Winnebago, but I just posed for that picture. But it is interesting because it is considered a unit that I don't believe you need a trucker's license for, but we have drivers that are officially trained in this activity. A lot of supporting highlights. Really want to call out Nicole Bollinger, Lisa Hackle, Abigail Zona Patel, and Shelley Parkhurst for all their work. You know, we got to get out the message. It's really important to get out the message, and we do that in a variety of things, from websites and hosted events like today, podcasts, and many others, and it's really outstanding. I want to, this is interesting. This has snowballed into something that we never could have imagined would take on its life, which is this podcast and now vodcast or videocast. I can't tell you that Ego Ofatokun's videocast has 819,000 views. I mean, it's truly extraordinary. And the line now to get into one of these podcasts is everybody wants to be on it. And so we've done over 43 episodes. We're booking out now 6 to 12 months. So if anybody wants to be on the video or the podcast, come and, join in. They're really great. And I have to say that Molly McVoy is in second place. And Molly has passed over 650,000. And then this other group of Gary Schwartz and Ted Technos from Cancer are pulling in about the 500,000 range. So this is really great. We've gone from just podcast into video, and I've been told by our organizers that we actually are now going traveling because we are going to be moving our studios from our offices into a mobile surgical operating van, and we're going to have a live video cast in a new place. So stay tuned. It's all very exciting. Okay, so it always happens. We think we're good, but are we really good, right? So where are we ranked? So very pleased to say, because we are fighting way above our weight class. I mean, way, way, way above our weight class. Never in a million years, if you had said to me, starting all these state of the research addresses, and I would say, what do you want to be, Dan? I want to be top 10 in the US and top 20 in the globe. And people would be like, what are you smoking? And I think that it's all you. I mean, everybody here has contributed to this. And of course, we want to call out Stathis as the president of UHCMC, because this is the academic medical center ranking. I think we really view ourselves as an academic health system, but this ranking is for the top 100 academic medical centers. And it's probably not lost on all of you here. One of the reasons why we're number 7 in the US, number 15 in the globe, is look who's number 2. And so having this very close affiliation with Oxford is really given us, as we say, this enormous updraft. And I think we want to continue. We were ranked 8th and 16th last year, for those of you who forgot. And so we're going up a little bit. And I think there's 2 things about this that I would emphasize. One is we really are the only city in the US with truly 2 academic medical centers. And the reason why I say that is because the Dana-Farber is a cancer institute. It's not really an academic medical center. So MGB is the one in Boston, and Dana-Farber is a cancer institute. So we really are the only city with 2. That's extraordinary. So Cleveland really is a biomedical mecca, and I think that we're very proud to be there with our neighbors, as we call them, the Euclid Street Clinic. But we want to keep going up here. So do I think we can be top 5 and top 10? I don't even want to say it, but you can imagine we're very competitive, so we are thinking it a little bit. Okay, looking ahead, what do we have to do? Well, it's interesting that these points are very similar to last year's. We got to continue to recruit faculty to foster team science through collaborative and interdisciplinary efforts. Look, the individual R01 is still the core currency. But to really get us from 237 to 300, which is my other goal, it's got to be big grants, and that's team science. The other thing that we did it, but we got to keep doing it, is we got to augment and diversify our revenue streams. We did it last year. We went to 143 million in industry, pharma, biotech, PCORI, HRSA, ARC, and state and foundations. We got to continue to do that. And we have to strengthen our academic partnerships, which we're always thinking about and how we can do it. So, this also always amazes me when you look at some of the highlighted things that actually happened in this institution, which we don't have time to do. But if you go back in this, and I think just something for me as an interventional cardiologist, the coagulation cascade was developed here by Oscar Ratnoff, okay? Take a look sometime. Our slides will be available for you to look at. Things that University Hospital's done is amazing. And those of you who went to the Woofsome lecture by Igo Ofotokun just this week, what did we learn? Where did the first 6 women in the 5 out of the first 6 women who graduated from medical school in the United States in the 1850s, where did they graduate from? Right here. Right here. Is unbelievable. So we want to say discovery impact. Well, I'll just say this. Research thrives when we work together. Thank you.